You're live.
I don't want
So,
to.
welcome. Whether you're with us here in the class at the moment, which I don't see anybody, but or whether you come or whether you watch the YouTube video of us doing our class at some future time.
I never can see them videos.
It's
I try.
well, you just have to go on out. You have a laptop. You have a computer.
No, I do on my phone.
Well, you can do it on your phone. I'll show you how. Okay. So anyway, here we are again, exploring the glorious teachings of the unity movement, which is so open-ended that it invites people to explore um, unusual and non-traditional ways of looking at things.
So that paper is not all the traditional, right? Is what you're telling me.
Which paper?
This paper. I was kind of thinking about that. I mean, my sister.
Paper. What kind of paper? Did I pass out any papers?
No. I'm talking about our booklet we have for the. Well, it's this right here. This back here. Yeah.
That's our basic unity. That's our basic unity work, kind of distilled into the lowest common denominator. That's not very far out at all.
Okay.
And what we're talking about in our class called the 5 Basic Principles and Beyond is that people who come to unity, especially who are new, which I know you're not, but you still dig on the unity teaching so much. I just love it. And so do I. Yeah.
I was just about the healing thing. Remember we talked about that before. That's kind of questionable with me sometimes.
Well, healing is a big chunk of the unity work because unity was founded by a woman who experienced a miraculous healing. And we basically have the same metaphysical constructs as Christian Science, which is all about healing. But we don't have the same culture around it as they have.
That's what I was wondering about.
We don't say you can't go to doctors and you can't take medicine. We say that God works through all things, and that your whatever you feel guided to engage with is your right to do, but that we see in you the possibility for healing.
Okay, that's why I got to correct my sister because that what she was questionable. She's like, I'm like, no, I don't think that's how she believes.
No, but we believe that the true source of healing is God.
Right, I do too. I believe that.
Yeah, and that.
But some things you just, you know what I mean.
Well, we could do a little discussion about healing. So let's get opened with prayer.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I want
to. It's been on my mind.
No, there's nothing to apologize for. It's a wonderful thing. But would anybody like to open us with prayer?
Well, I did last week, so I'm.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Thanks. I don't know how. I really don't.
Well, I'll be happy. I want to do it. Okay, so
I don't know.
So it always starts with taking a deep breath and relaxing. Turning our attention away from outer things, from the doings of the moment, and going to a place of stillness within. Appreciating and apprehending that light that shines always, that is God, that is Spirit, that has all-powerful love, life, light, wisdom, everything we need is in that light. And in our ongoing journey, our classwork, our participation as a spiritual family, we come to apprehend that light and live in it to a greater degree of awareness. Amen. Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you for the light. We sang that song Sunday, Do You Know You Are the Light?
Yep.
Now, you probably don't know that. There was a gal who lived and had a very, she was a very popular singer. She went into public schools and she wrote songs that gave children a positive self-image.
Oh, that's nice.
And was based on the Course in Miracles too. She would claim that, but she was a unity person and she visited all the unity churches around here. Her name was Carol Johnson. She passed away about 2 years ago, but she had a great song We sang it this Sunday, and I'm just going to sing it for you because you weren't here. It goes, do. It's hard to get the right note at the
Maybe
beginning.
it's on my paper.
No, it's just hard to get the right key. You know you are the. Do you know you're beautiful? The truth of you remains forever unchanged, beautiful as God created you. Do you know you are the light? Do you know you are the light? The truth of you remains forever unchanged. You are the light, for God created you.
Yep.
It's a real simple song that kids sing. And we sang it in our rite of passage ceremony for the kids who were here. You'll be able to see that in the video. But Autumn couldn't get the video done like she usually does because she was just worn out.
Yes, she was.
The humidity got to her and she wasn't
in good shape.
but she got started, and bless her heart, she's going to come back and finish it up. But anyway, about healing, um, people have gotten so um, accustomed to having their health managed by the health professionals.
Yep.
That the healing part of the unity work and a lot of Christianity, a lot of religious practice has kind of gone by the wayside. And also with this big discovery of hereditary factors in illness carried by the genetic codes and everything, which is a direct contradiction of the original position of the Unity founder. Myrtle Fillmore went to a class in Kansas City, and she had tuberculosis all her life, and she was 40. She had 3 young children.
That's something.
And her doctors had told her to get her affairs in order because she didn't have long. Yeah, get your affairs in order. We can't do any more for you. You're on your last legs. That's what she was told at the age of about 40.
That's young.
Yeah. But all her life she had been frail, and a lot of her family members had died of tuberculosis. And so she was thinking, I have a hereditary proclivity to have tuberculosis. She believed that. So she went to this class. This is part of our lore. This is what you learn when you get to know Unity. This is part of the story of how the Unity movement developed.
Okay.
Have you heard this before, Edward, about Myrtle Fillmore?
I think I might.
Because we do repeat it a lot, but I don't think you've heard it. So she went to this class and she heard the teacher say, and the teacher was from the School of Metaphysics in Chicago,
Okay.
which was started by a woman who in the beginning was in partnership with Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science.
Okay.
They had a falling out. So this other gal, Emma Curtis Hopkins, moved to Chicago, started her own school of metaphysics. And all these people were her students, and they all started religious movements. That was divine science, science of mind, religious science. All these people were her students with the Fillmores who started Unity. So anyway, Myrtle Fillmore heard the teacher say, you are a child of God, and you inherit all that God is. Therefore, you do not inherit sickness.
Okay.
And she realized, I've been thinking I inherited sickness all my life. And so she changed that thought. And she started to address all the different cells of her body, areas of her body, and say, I apologize for having condemned you and thought of you as sickly and not good enough. And she actually was cured of tuberculosis within 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't a sudden zap, like buzam, you're healed, but it was a very
What, baby? What? What do you want?
It was a very definite transformation. Hoppy, do you want to go in the other room? He wants to sit in your lap.
Come on, get up on my lap. Oh, no, go on mom's.
He thinks when people get together that somebody should take him for WAL.
Oh, we don't say that
Dad.
to my,
At WAL.
yeah, we don't say that to my nephew's girlfriend's dog that she's had because he's on his last legs
Poppy,
down
I'm
the
going to
road.
put you in that
And we
room
go
if you
over
don't
to
be
the house
quiet.
and visit the kitties. We don't say that W on that dog because that dog's ready
Oh, yeah.
anytime.
No, you
Anytime.
have to lay down and take a nap. We're not going
It's
to go
just
anywhere.
like that too.
We're
But
not
he's
going
old,
anywhere.
When she's had since she was 17. And he's bad shape.
We're having class now. We're not going out. Now sit over here.
He still likes the W. We don't say the W at
Yeah.
all. When we see him, we don't say
Well,
it.
Hoppy can spell, so stop saying W.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, sit. Now you're okay. We're not going to go outside. We're going to sit here and have our class.
After.
Take a nap.
After.
Anyway,
After.
so
Happy after.
that's why they had the Society of Silent Unity, was because more and more people were praying that same way
Okay.
of understanding that that our inheritance is to be whole and perfect, that our natural state is well and strong.
So
and
even
heal.
if, so what I'm saying is, so what you're saying is, even if in your genetics, in your family, there's things, sometimes they won't be there. Sometimes they can heal.
Well, there's a guy named Dr. Bruce Lipton who has completely deconstructed the reasoning of thinking that there are hereditary illnesses, and he says that, and a lot of other New Age doctors say that believing it makes it so. Not believing it makes it not so.
Truly believing it.
It is, it's kind of,
You know, what I'm saying is, in my hand saying, it's not, it's, you keep reinforcing your belief and affirming it and believing in it so that you don't have that negative thoughts that you were probably born hearing.
Yeah, it's a thought pattern. It's a whole vibe. It's a
I already passed my dad with colitis and he was 58, so I already passed him. So I feel that I'm getting better than worse. Of course, I'm not a drinker. He was a drinker.
And there are some doctors, and I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to get to, but we've had people come here who know, as well as they are standing on the ground, that all physical symptoms of ill health arise from some psychic state of trauma or pain.
I didn't know I
disease-
had until I
all
was in my
disease.
late 30s. I mean, I went probably, my early 30s and I didn't know.
But the thing is, there
at the
are
time.
there are some states of trauma that are so deeply embedded, that are so that have come upon us so early, that are so imprinted in our vibrational body, that to transform them is it takes a great mighty effort to transform consciousness. And some people just take the shortcut, use the medicine,
Yeah, I've been taking
and
it for a
that's
while.
fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're suffering, that's what it's there for.
It
We're not
helps-
saying.
it helps me through.
But what we want to say is, try to stop inflicting these wounds. Don't. And if you're holding some negative state, don't bury it. Try to bring it up and forgive it, and let it go, and replace it with.
I pray every day.
Positive.
I pray
Positive.
every day of my whole life.
Yeah.
Because it's awful to live with. I want nobody to live with it. I know. There ain't nobody besides my family that I knew that said me.
So what I'm always trying to teach is that the thought produces the emotion. Like the thought that, I'm going to say something negative. I don't want you to internalize this.
Just like
I hate my mother. She oppresses me. She dominates me, and she makes me miserable. And so then a person buries the feeling.
Right.
The feeling.
I understand. what you're
The
saying.
thought of that,
Okay, just saying
creates a
that.
feeling. And then the energy of that feeling is toxic to you. And then the toxicity of the feeling then pictures in some expression of some disease. And the healing comes when we just touch into the energetic consciousness, the vibration of healing love of the Christ. I fully believe that Jesus Christ
He knew
is
everything. I believe
on
so.
he's on a plane of consciousness where he can be anywhere,
Anytime.
anytime, many places, and he can heal
That
any
person,
condition from that place
Yeah.
where he is, if it can be accepted.
I pray every day for it. So I just live with it.
There was this lady who came to Unity Temple on the Plaza. She was a psychic.
Oh,
I wish I
Lord.
could remember her name. And she asked,
That might
she
different.
said that she had prayed and asked to be allowed to go to the other side to see what it's like.
Wow.
To astrally, project her body. I mean, project her soul entity astrally.
Wow.
And she claims that she was given this experience. And that when she was on the other side, that Jesus was actually standing on a hillside, teaching multitudes of souls
Oh, I don't know.
before to prepare them for re-entry into their next life.
Mhm.
I think that's a wonderful picture.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think I did that. I think that I,
Oh, when you were
was
sick.
when I was in between lives, because I think that this isn't my first lifetime being a follower of Jesus Christ. And that I came in. I mean, can you identify with that?
I've never had that experience.
Yeah. And when I used to be in the little nursery schools, and the kids would fight, I'd go up to a kid who was mad at some other kid, and I would say, Jesus says love everyone.
There
And
you
it was
go.
like they'd go, oh yeah, that's right, I remember now. Because they're so young, it hasn't
Right,
been
you
that
gotta teach 'em.
long
You gotta
since
teach
they
'em.
were there.
Yeah, you gotta teach them.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not teaching them, I'm helping them remember.
Okay.
Because if they were in those big multitudes listening to Jesus prepare them for their next life, that's what he would have been teaching them.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So last week we were talking about the first basic principle for part of the class, which is the absolute goodness of God. God is all good, everywhere present,
Mm-hmm.
And then the second principle is you have the original text when it first was published, the five basic principles said there's a spark of divinity in you. And it's become like, what do you mean spark? We are wholly divine. It's more than just a spark.
Mm-hmm.
Every emanation, every radiation of our being is of the divine. We are the Christ. We just don't know it all the time. Such a difference, And this was something that I misspoke this many times, that when we're separate from God, then we're miserable,
Oh yeah.
And I was saying this to one of the teachers out of Unity, and something like, this is what I understand, that, our suffering comes from being separate from God. And the teacher reminded me, and I've never made this mistake again.
No,
We're never separate from God. We only think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like,
And when we think we are, it seems very real. What were you going to say?
it's like getting lost for a while.
There you
Yeah.
Like prodigal son or whatever. You forget.
Yeah.
Or something is overwhelming you. Can't go way back. Because you never really were separate.
And in fact, what we say in Unity is that the only sin, if you want to talk what is sin, the only sin is believing that you are separate from God.
Right. And you never.
All other mistakes are corollary to that one.
Yeah, I've heard that the definition of sin is missing the mark.
Well, that's the definition in terms of the etymology of sin, which takes away the judgment. Yeah, sin is to miss the mark, but what it is to do, the act of. And I thought it was interesting. Were you here when that guy Jimmy Marino was here?
No.
It was the Sunday after Easter. You were here.
He talked to me.
Yeah, he was
he the
a
one
guest
that moved to
speaker.
California?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It was.
yeah. He used the word sin in his sermon 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And I never. Do you ever hear me use the word sin?
No.
I never ever
Uh-uh.
use it.
Uh-uh.
And when I'm teaching metaphysics, I try to emphasize the only sin is thinking that you're separate from God.
It's all in your head.
Huh?
It's all in your head.
Yeah. Edward says it's all in your head.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to go on to realize our divinity. Do you know that singer named Alanis Morissette? You must know. her.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Do you know that she has studied unity most of her life?
No.
Yeah.
Didn't
And
know.
you can hear it in her
She's
lyrics.
got she's
In
got
her
some
lyrics.
out there lyrics like that. Which one? And I sung that.
Well, she has the song Thank You that says thank you silence. Thank you, innocence. Thank you, providence. Thank you,
I don't
silence.
think I ever rapping those songs.
And she got that silence from the Unity teachings. And she has written for Unity Magazine. There have been articles in Unity Magazine written by Alanis Morissette. And she also has that one. How about a song that starts out, how about getting off of these antibiotics? How about remembering your divinity? Where do they talk like that?
Huh.
Anyway, we're the only people who talk like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, remembering your divinity.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
I know she was like that. By her music.
it's always. Go ahead.
I don't know if she was a teen pop star. Even
Yep.
like before that one hit.
But when
Mid-90s.
yeah,
She was
that's
a teen
naughty,
pop star.
naughty, and that was she's talking about some other girl.
Her songs were really extraordinary. They were very,
They were.
very had great emotional depth
A lot of
impact. Yeah, and it came out of when she was real young. She had a nervous breakdown,
I'm sure she
falling
did.
in love with some older man, and
That's where she come in with that girl, and yeah, said that.
and in her therapy, in her healing journey of therapy, recovering from that, she wrote some really interesting songs.
Said, yeah.
Yeah, some of it was. Some of it was. What would you say?
She's mumbling her one hit
Yeah.
from
But
the mid-90s.
But it was really well produced. I actually wrote her a fan letter. So anyway,
I was her fan too. Okay.
but she did
She
have
was
that
real.
lyric.
That's
How
what I
about
said.
remembering your divinity? So that's what I say to all truth students. How about remembering your divinity? And that is the second of the 5 basic principles, is to know that you are created in the image and likeness of God. We are the same as when the Bible talks about the only begotten Son of the Father.
Yep.
That is the idea. We are an idea in the mind of God, very metaphysical stuff. But God, being pure consciousness, creates the idea of the Christ, which is the archetype for human beings. And that's what we are, divine. But we're in the process of becoming fully identified with it. And to see how some people are so lost, are so identified other ways,
Oh my God.
are so
Run into people like that in the store today.
think of themselves in such in such limited I don't even know how to put words to it, you know.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Me too.
And it's just so easy. I mean, you don't have to fight it off. You don't have to fight evil off.
No.
You just have to change your choice,
Let
make
it
a different
go.
choice.
Yep.
Which is part of my sermon this Sunday about freedom. It's called A New Kind of Freedom. And so I'm talking about to think about freedom as not something that you have to fight for, but as something that you exist
This
with.
Sunday's the
You
4th.
exist with, yeah.
Independence Day.
But you're going to be away again.
She's going to Traverse City, she said. I know.
Actually leaving Thursday and coming back Monday.
Well, but you're going to be at a great festival.
Yes, a real great festival.
Hattie goes to all the state festivals.
I go to ones here in Muskegon, but they ain't like up
I
north.
did go to that art fair.
I heard
I went Sunday, but they were closing up early.
Yeah.
I heard that it was very nicely done.
It was nicely done, but they
Oh,
were
it
closing
always
up.
is. The art fair we're talking about.
They had such fancy stuff. I like that copper stuff. That was pretty cool. How they made all that stuff out of copper. That was interesting. And the wood. I love the wood carvings.
So now we've done our due diligence with one of the 5 basic principles. And now we'll do the and beyond part. Now,
Mhm.
last week I introduced you all to Rupert Sheldrake.
Yes.
But was it self-indulgent? I mean, I like Rupert Sheldrake. I
like them.
want people to know who I talk about when I'm talking in my sermons. So there's this one other guy that I'm a big fan of.
Okay.
I don't know if it's fair to you for me to foist this on you,
Why?
or should
Why?
well, because the guy isn't spiritual, only to the extent that knowledge is sacred, and he brings a collection of information that he has put together. He has traveled all over the world. Well, I'll tell you about him. You look interested. Are you interested?
I think I only saw him last week. Wasn't the video that did he get banned from TED Talk?
No, that's
No,
Rupert.
Sheldon.
That's
That's
Rupert
Oh,
Sheldrake.
yes.
There are two. They're both people out of the academic world.
Okay.
They're intellectually very gifted, but I feel that what they bring to the table is very important for the integrity of any person, true students and everybody. And here's why. So this guy is Jared Diamond, and the first book that he wrote was called Guns, Germs, and Steel. And it was such a big hit that colleges and universities required their incoming freshman students to read it all over the country. They were saying, this is a required book before you can come to college to read this book. Why? Because what Jared Diamond does is he started out studying ornithology, and then he became a geography professor. Okay, and he went to New Guinea to study birds, and there are in New Guinea there are human beings who still live a tribal life. They still
Is
live
that them little people?
primitive. No, they're not little, but
What's some little people then that they have?
not in, I don't know about that, but these
live by the
people have
islands or something
a
like this?
sustainable. That's probably in Africa. These people have a sustainable society. They live off of the land, and they're healthy and well-adjusted, and they have a very balanced society. But when he came there to study, he had all this stuff they call cargo. He had toys, and he had guns, and he had what do you call those things when you put up a little canopy, and he had all the accoutrements that we in Western civilization have. And so the leaders of the tribe said to him, so why do you have so much cargo and we don't have any? They call it cargo. So he got to thinking about that question. And he started to really uncover some some great patterns of cultural and scientific knowledge that if you look at the whole scene of it together, you can see that the course of history has been influenced by where people live, the topography that they're dealing with, the resources that they have to utilize, and
Pygmy people. That's what I was
and
thinking of.
yeah, pygmy. She's thinking about pygmy, and the resources they have to deal with, and the course of history that affected them. And so he wrote this book called Guns, Germs, and Steel, which explains why certain tribal societies don't have what they call cargo, and other societies do. And it's not because they're smarter or better or more ingenious or more clever. It's because of happenstance, the climate, the topography, the resources, and the course of history. And so he explained it so well that it does a lot to take away the prejudices and preconceived notions we have about people foreign to us.
Yeah,
So
it's too
that's
bad it
why-
wasn't that way here.
So that's why they required
Truthfully.
it to read. That's why they required the incoming college students to read it.
Is that another way of saying you don't have all the baggage that we have?
Yeah, right here.
By
Yeah,
that, I don't.
yeah, I know.
All the
It's anytime you watch the
things
political,
and
it's on here.
beliefs and all that you want.
It's a nonsense.
Well, there's no going back. I mean, we're stuck with it, but it doesn't make us better than them. Is
No.
what he was saying.
Oh,
No, 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 no.
Yeah. So, so then he got into more, more research, more explorations, and he put together 2 books. One is called Upheaval: Why Societies Choose to Fail, and he
Did you write a book called Collapse?
yeah, that's the second book. That's his more recent book.
Yeah.
And so he really points out the choices that societies make that either allow them to continue and prevail over their challenges or cause them to cease to exist.
Sort of like you would have like, here's these people on this side and these kind of people and then these other ones over here, but these ones don't want to come on this side. It's kind of like what you're talking about.
I'm not sure exactly what you said. Just
When
then.
you were just saying about some people that they didn't have stuff like what he was saying about the cargo and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like how segregations are now.
Well, it was different. What he said was like, well, I have a video lined up. It's very short, and in the introduction, you can really get a taste of what he's talking about. But what he's telling us is that there are 4 issues that we have to deal with if we're going to survive as a species.
Okay.
And the first one is to avoid nuclear
Well,
war.
yeah, we don't want no part of that.
Yeah. So looks like but the second one is to manage our resources sustainably. We are harvesting water and fish unsustainably and wood.
People are getting greedy.
And he points out how the other
They really
societies
are. I've seen
have died out because they harvested the very things that they needed unsustainably and then perished.
it. Mhm.
And then the third thing is inequality. Inequality. He said it's not sustainable because there's so much communication all over the world that now people who are poor and have no
Yeah.
and have a very standard of living that is unbearable can't tolerate it because they can see how many other people don't do that, and they will at some point revolt. I think I combined 2, but anyway, so that's how he talks, and to me, it keeps me sort of focused on the business at hand.
Mhm.
That we have to remain vigilant, and we have to support the steps that are going in the direction that we need to go in. We have to be vocal to say what these things are. We can't all be, elected to government or whatever leaders,
absolutely not.
but to support the direction of things is very important, and to be able to speak knowledgeably. So I want to turn this I'm gonna say goodbye to you because I can't
Bye.
play a video on YouTube because it's copyrighted. So,
Oh.
so I'm
okay.
telling all you people at home, watch a Jared Diamond video, okay? And God bless you. Thank you for being with us.